Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm your host, Johan, and today is a special day. Today is Season 2 of Project Element. So if you've been following along before, or you're new to the channel here, be sure to like and subscribe down below. We are going to be working on a new Honda Element. This is a 2006 EXP model. This one here is an all-wheel drive stick shift. We got the body and the chassis and the layout that we wanted, so now we just need to make it ours. We've done quite a few things to this vehicle already just to kind of get it roadworthy. I actually use our mascot for working on vehicles. So like I was saying, we drove about 380 miles home with the vehicle, worked okay. Had to replace the clutch hydraulic system, so the master cylinder and the clutch slave cylinder both needed to be replaced. If you have a clutch pedal that automatically goes to the floor or is not working properly, this is the clutch master cylinder. If you follow me over here, you can see that it fits right into this hole, right into the firewall there. You can see that hole. So you 2 bolts from the other side. Don't forget your gasket, but my pedal was just basically bleeding out and sinking to the floor. You're gonna have to take some of the parts off of this, but put it back on. Obviously it comes with the new gasket, but this piece right here has got a pin that goes in it. It's held with like a little clip, and then that's what attaches to the back of the pedal. This is not working properly.
Just to prove to you guys that it is not spring loaded. See, like,
here is what it's supposed to do. Yay. So good thing we're changing this out, because this piece was broken. All right, let's get it back on the car. And we did, spark plugs, oil change. We drained the front transmission. The biggest issue that we had with this vehicle was that it had a stolen catalytic converter that was replaced. Now, just like in last season, this was replaced with a Walker exhaust product part. So you can get a Walker exhaust unit that's completely California compliant, and it will pass smog for you so that you can get this thing back on the road. Now, the person that I purchased this from, he actually had already done that, but it was still throwing up check engine lights, which is, I believe, why he sold it. Kind of a funny story about that. He actually had the 2 oxygen sensors in the wrong spot. It was throwing up an engine code, go figure. And took me a bit of research and figuring it out and looking at the actual male-female plugs, because they are different. So I went ahead and I purchased a Denso. This is basically what as close to OEM as you can get from an aftermarket supplier. So doing my research, I realized that they were in the wrong spot, and I was able to actually go ahead, I had already purchased the Denso and put it in there and everything, and I prefer it. Now looking at this unit, it's actually a Bosch unit, which is probably one of the only other suppliers that I would actually recommend. So this was probably not the problem at all. They were just in the wrong spot. Anyways, long story short, we've done some work to this vehicle already. What we have coming up next is front end work. I'll play a little clip of the sound that I get while driving around. It's like this funky squeak. It could be the top hats up here. Could be the ball joints. We'll know once we get this thing lifted up. I'm driving. It's definitely the struts up front, it sounds like. I'm sure you can hear that. You can see the road. I'm not exactly going over anything super bumpy. So if you have a sound like this in your car, we're gonna try and take care of it. But I just went ahead and purchased lower control arms. They're Moog lower control arms, about 55 bucks a piece. You'll find them down below. As well as I purchased the Monroe quick struts, about 180 bucks a unit. I had previously tried Detroit axle on the last vehicle, and they were marginal. So I went with a slightly better unit, and we'll see how they work. I also have the OEM Honda end links for up front, because when I get that stuff pulled apart, gonna want to trade it out. Just get the OEM one. You can check out Bird Rebuilds. He's another element fixer and DIYer, and he actually did the entire polyurethane set in his lower control arms, had everything pressed in. He said it was a ton of work, so I just went ahead and purchased some $50 Moog lower control arms. I'm gonna throw them in there. They'll be, OEM, so to speak. So that's what we're gonna do. I'll show you how to check the ball joints when we get in here. I suspect that the ball joints are actually bad in this. So it's gonna be a quick, easy job, 3-4 hours. But if the ball joints do need to get done, I don't have a press. I may have to purchase one or take it over to my brother's house so that he can help me. But yeah, let's get at it. We're gonna get some new parts on here and try and fix up this front end just a little bit. Now, one of the things that you should always do is check your part numbers. Make sure that what you purchased is what actually arrived. Make sure that, oh, can't see that one, but make sure that everything that you purchased is actually going to be what you want. If you want to test your lower ball joint that sticks down out of the whole knuckle assembly, you need to be able to put this on here and see if you're getting any wobble out of the wheel. And this one does not actually appear to have any wobble, which is good. All right, if you don't have one and you have an impact, get yourself a socket adapter. It's gonna make your life so much easier so that you can throw on your sockets, take your stuff off nice and easy. Save yourself a ton of time. You can almost do it without looking. I hate wearing gloves when I work on stuff. I try to keep my hands clean. I try to wear rubber gloves. They just get ripped. It's such a pain in the butt not being able to grip stuff. One of the other things that I think we're gonna do is we're gonna plastic dip these in black. So if you want to see that in an upcoming episode, let us know in the comments down below. Got all kinds of stuff that we want to do to this car, so that's just one of the options. Probably go ahead and rotate these tires while we're at it, clean them up, get them looking nice. That's a little roached. We live in California and we don't have the same rust issues that you might get in the rest of the world, but if you do live in some of the more salty areas that end up with rust, go ahead and spray these down with a little bit of Blaster or WD-40 something so that all of these bolts will come off that much easier. The CRV that I got has way more rust under it, on surface level rust, than this, so we're gonna go ahead and see if we can just get this done. Remember when I said I didn't need to change my ball joint? Yeah, I was wrong. That boot is toast, and that's probably where a majority of my vibration is coming in. So this turned into a much longer project. I need to pull this entire knuckle assembly out, which is this piece here, carries the wheel bearing. I'm gonna have to drop the axle out and do all of that because that ball joint is pressed in there, so that is going to be a bigger project. See if we can find them at the local auto parts store. Quick tip, folks, this little nut back here attached to the wheel speed sensor or the ABS sensor, I'm not really sure what it is, but it goes into there. So when I pull this knuckle piece out, it's not going to be very easy to deal with that, but if you just trace it all the way back, right under here is that little bit of orange right there. That's the other end of this, and you just unplug it, and then this will come with the knuckle. So just quick tip, don't go taking it out of there. So this is quickly turned into a three-man job. So what we're gonna need is someone standing on the brakes, because what's happening is I don't want this thing rotating just on the axle assembly. So we're gonna put that on there. There, you found it. All right.
Go for it.
Got it.
Done?
Done. Thank you. Done.
This socket is super big.
Yep.
And at this point, you pretty much just spin it by hand because...
So when it comes to order of operations, do this. Crack this nut and actually just leave it there. Leave it loose, connected, just like that. And now we can take the caliper and the rest of it apart, and then we can get to the ball joint underneath with the pickle fork. All right.
I don't know if my dad's told you, but this is a 36 mil socket.
Quick tip, guys. The new Honda N-Links do not come with nuts in the bag. So this one that I left on there on the lower control arm is actually gonna have to get pulled. So don't go torching these or messing up your bolts, because you'll end up having to go and purchase more. Just quick tip. case you're not familiar, the way that these work is there's actually an Allen key in the end, and then you can spin the nut and tighten these. Otherwise, this thing will just continue to spin. So just be sure to get yourself, I believe it's a 5mm. Another little quick tip, before I tighten all of this down, I'm gonna try and get this back on just to make my life a little easier. If I tighten all this stuff up, my tolerance to be able to move that large sway bar spring unit is just gonna be more difficult. So if I can do this with the lower control arm kind of floating around, I can go ahead and tighten everything down after the fact. So always inspect your parts, make sure that the part that you have lines up and is identical. This is an OE part on my last car. I purchased them on eBay, but I got 2 of the wrong ones. But you can see here that I cannot move, oh, there it goes, these end links at all. Whereas this one, I can kind of drive it like an Xbox controller. So you can see that though this part is good, some of the boot is coming out. So it's just time, $20 part. Go ahead and swap them out. Tripod. Darn Amazon products. Okay, so as you see here, I'm having trouble getting this ball joint off. I need some way to actually get some leverage on this. So I'm gonna wing a couple of these little lug nuts back on here. But now I have some actual leverage to work with. Now, I need to back this off, check everything, and probably swap this out because I'm not having any luck getting that in there. Need to swap out to a bigger unit, something. Go, squeezing through. So make yourself a vise, whatever you can, so this has some leverage so that your breaker bar will actually work. So 1-person ball joint removal. I think she's loose. Do it by hand so some of the tension's off of there. Skaboosh. There's also the option of just hammering that bitch out. Long story short, this was an aftermarket one with a snap ring and everything, and it was actually in good shape. And I looked at my lower control arm. I probably could have gotten away with returning these parts, but I figure I'm already dirty, it's already a weekend. I'm already gonna go ahead and just swap them out so all the parts match. So that's what we're doing. This is pretty saucy roached anyway, so it was time. Do yourself a favor when you're lining this up. Line it up perpendicular. If you do it this way, it just makes getting into the cotter pin a little bit harder. I know it's kind of a little craziness, but get it lined up proper. Now this tool here says specifically not to use an impact gun, but yeah, I'm gonna just see what happens. About half of it. My gun only goes to about 80 pounds, so the rest of it will be done with the breaker bar. That's it. Seated. Oh my God, that was worlds easier than the last one. So the originals are press fit in, but this one actually has a snap ring that won't allow it to go backwards. So comes in the package, comes with a new cotter pin. Final part came in the mail for this front end kit. Oh, no knife needed. Siberian bushings. They are from Russia. apparently, but these are polyurethane sway bar bushings. I'm thinking that the entire idea of this vehicle is going to be yellow and silver. Now, these don't appear to have a spot that comes apart, so I guess I'm going to have to slip these all the way on. Not quite sure. We'll follow the instructions. Normally, your Honda ones, as you see here, have a slit in them, but you can also see that these are very, very hard, not very pliable. These ones are like soft and gooey. So once we figure out how to get them on there, these are going to be a softer, better ride. So this does actually say to go ahead and cut them and put a slice in them, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And it does come with some anti-seize grease. I would assume that's what that's for. The instructions are not that great. Something to be left in translation, but looks like a good part. That one of Siberian bushing has not. In such cases, the installation of bushings is done into the old metal shells, which are carrying out the role of housing bores and are not removed from the arms. Not so bad. So we're just gonna go ahead and cut that, and then that'll open that up for us. Short of that, same size, same diameter, same width. I mean, short of getting out a set of calipers, these look to be an OE part replacement. So, golly, this thing is so stiff. I can't do anything with it, and this one is just like plush. It's like a lazy boy couch. I will say the ABS light was on for a minute, and once tires went around, it seems to have fixed itself. So let's see if this thing has any crazy squeaks. Woo! All over the place. I will say it feels like it's got about an inch of raise, you know, tired springs, whatnot, that have fallen over, but no more creak, no more bumps, no more rattles, and steering wheel's relatively straight. No, it's off. She'll need an alignment. We kind of knew that, but she's quiet up front. Tracks a lot. Alright, steering wheel's off now. Obviously, it's messing with the tie rods and that kind of stuff. But it is so much quieter in here. There's no more of that squeak, jounce, jungle. I don't know what you call it, but we seem to be doing good. Kind of going straight here with the steering wheel. And still drives straight, just steering wheel's off. So someone's gonna have to fix that up in the alignment shop. ABS light came on for just 1 second, but oh my, this is so much better. Not as jittery when accelerating either, simply because it seems a little more planted. So overall, 3 minutes of driving on the road, and she is a world's better car. She goes exactly where I need it to. Track's really straight. Works better if you put it into second instead of fourth. One-handed stick shift driving is not easy, but around the corners, doing really good. Got kids up here in the road, so we're gonna slow down. All right, project successful.